If you're watching this video right now, it's most likely because you were elected as a delegate or an alternate for Bernie Sanders on March 1st at your precinct caucus. Before I begin, let me just say thank you so much for taking the time, waiting through those long lines, and sticking around through the whole process so that you could end up as a delegate or an alternate for Bernie Sanders. Without you, this political revolution would not be taking place. Most people who are elected as delegates or alternates on March 1st here in Colorado are completely new to this process, and that's totally fine. That's why we're making this video. We found that a lot of people are wondering, what should I expect in the next coming weeks as a delegate or an alternate for Bernie Sanders? That's what this video is all about. First, we're just going to go over some terms. Here in Colorado, if you were elected as a delegate or an alternate for Bernie on March 1st, you were either elected as a delegate or an alternate to your county convention or to your county assembly. In most likelihood, you were elected as a delegate or an alternate to both your county convention and your county assembly. Both meetings deal with completely different things. So first, let's talk about the county convention. The county convention only deals with the presidential primary race. This is where we will make Bernie Sanders our next president. It's at the county convention where we will all convene in a large hall or an auditorium or maybe a very large gymnasium for the smaller counties. Just like you convened with your neighbors on March 1st, now you'll be just meeting with delegates from your county in one large area. One of the first things we'll do is a presidential preference poll, just like we did on March 1st. This is where we have the opportunity to make Bernie Sanders' numbers go up in our specific counties. In all likelihood, not all the delegates will show up. Not all the alternates will show up. What we want is for all of the Bernie Sanders delegates and alternates to show up. Because if Hillary's delegates and alternates don't show up, we can take those seats from her. And then those people will be able to vote in the presidential preference poll, thus making Bernie Sanders' numbers go up in that specific county. Once we've conducted the presidential preference poll, the preference groups will then meet on their own, with the Clinton group meeting by itself and the Bernie Sanders group meeting by itself. Those specific preference groups will then elect delegates to either the state convention or your congressional district convention. At the state convention, over 4,000 delegates will convene where they will elect 14 at-large delegates and 9 pledged leaders and elected official delegates to go to the National Convention in Philadelphia. So you basically have a little over 4,000 delegates determining 24 delegates to represent Colorado at the National Convention. I'm going to use Congressional District 1 as an example. Here in Denver, CD1 is made up primarily of Denver County. Out of CD1, 8 delegates will go to the National Convention. That is the most delegates out of any of the congressional districts in Colorado. But only about 500 delegates will be going to the Congressional District Convention in CD1 to pick those 8 delegates to the National Convention. So in terms of proportionality, the Bernie Sanders group gets more bang for its buck at the Congressional District Conventions than we will at the state convention. In my opinion, I highly suggest that you get your most hardcore and organized Bernie Sanders delegates and alternates elected to your congressional district conventions. And then you get the other delegates that still want to participate and maybe go on to national and have them go to the state convention. That process is how we're going to make Bernie Sanders the president. So, think about it like this. The county and the state and the congressional district conventions are our short-term plan to make Bernie Sanders the next president. But for the past year, on the campaign trail, Bernie Sanders has been calling for a political revolution. It is through our county assemblies and then the state assembly that we will be able to have the most effect on our local politics here in Colorado so that we really can continue Bernie's political revolution. At the county assemblies, you will deal with strictly the lower down ticket races. You will deal with the people who are running for House District, Senate District, or like here in Denver County, we have a Denver District Attorney's race going on. There's also another crucial thing that happens at the assemblies. That is the assigning of vacancy committees. A vacancy committee is very crucial to the party because if we have elected a state legislator to a House district seat or a Senate district seat, and that person either dies, retires, or vacates their seat because they got a promotion, instead of costing the taxpayers a whole bunch of money by holding a special election, the parties just tap the shoulders of the vacancy committees, and the vacancy committees then pick the person to replace that legislator. Typically, at these assemblies, somebody makes a motion just saying, we want to make the central committee the vacancy committee. The central committee is made up of precinct committee people from that county. But we have the opportunity at our county assemblies to stand up and make a motion to make a certain set of individuals the vacancy committee for the next 2 years. At this point at the assemblies, we really need to have our strongest Bernie Sanders progressive supporters lined up on a slate that they can just be named as the vacancy committee for the next 2 years. Because if you stand up and you name 7 Bernie Sanders supporters from your county as the vacancy committee, in most likelihood, nobody's going to stand up and challenge you. And that slate of individuals will just automatically be made the vacancy committee. This is a very crucial step that all Bernie Sanders supporters must take at their county assemblies in the next few weeks. So just to recap real quick, at the county conventions, we'll be electing delegates to go to either the state convention or the congressional district convention. So if you want to make Bernie Sanders your next president, make sure that you're in attendance at your county convention. If you want to help Bernie Sanders with his political revolution, make sure you're in attendance at your county assembly as well. Please share this video with any other Bernie Sanders delegates or alternates that you might know in your community. I highly recommend going to the coloradodems.org website so that you can look at the rules for the county conventions and assemblies, and also look at the numbers of delegates that are getting selected from each of these meetings. We're going to put the website and the link in the description of this video so you can click right on it and see the numbers of what we're talking about. And before I end, I also want to mention really quickly, at these county conventions and at the county assemblies, you're also going to elect people to a credentials committee and a permanent organizing committee for either the state convention, the congressional district convention, the state assembly, or your congressional district assembly. It's very crucial that we get Bernie Sanders supporters on all of those committees. The credentials committees hear challenges about delegates getting seated. So we want to make sure that we have Bernie Sanders people on the credentials committee. The permanent organizing committee, they're the ones who set the order of the agenda for the congressional district convention or assembly or the state convention or assembly. It's very important that we get Bernie Sanders people elected to that committee as well. Like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, And thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this political revolution.